Good morning. We begin with this story. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wants the government to facilitate and ease the home ownership process for the people. This includes increased regulation and monitoring of the housing development industry to ensure that developers provide affordable housing and maintain ethical practices.
We have to closely monitor, and REHDA has to be with us, monitoring this. And whatever changes necessary, adjustments necessary, including the ease of doing business, which is a major policy position that I have taken.
He said this in his speech at the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association REHDA 50th Anniversary Dinner held at One World Hotel in Petaling Jaya on Wednesday night. Datuk Seri Anwar also acknowledged the vital role played by REHDA in the property development industry over the last 5 decades, particularly in shaping Malaysia's urban landscape. Also present at the event was Local Government Development Minister Ngah Ming. The government has decided to postpone indefinitely the implementation of 2 new taxes introduced by the previous administration. Treasury Secretary General Datuk Johan Mahmud Merican said both taxes, namely the excise duty on pre-mixed beverages and the low-value goods LVG tax, are scheduled to be enforced beginning April 1st. According to Datuk Johan, this was to ensure efforts to drive economic growth will not affect sectors that are in the process of recovery, including tourism and retail post-COVID-19.
Terdapat 1-2 cukai yang ikut jadual telah diumumkan untuk dilaksanakan pada awal tahun ini seperti low value goods tax dengan premix sugar tax. Tapi kerajaan telah mengambil keputusan untuk menangguhkan pelaksanaan cukai-cukai tersebut, mengambil kira untuk memastikan bahawa ia tidak menjejaskan rakyat, terutamanya dalam konteks cabaran kos sara hidup.
He said this to the media at KPMG's Tax and Business Summit 2022 in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. Datuk Johan revealed that the Finance Ministry is still studying the matter and has yet to decide on how the taxes will be structured and when they will be implemented, adding that more feedback and engagement sessions were also needed. Previously, it was announced that the LVG tax would impose a flat rate of 10% sales tax on goods with a total value of less than 500 ringgit imported into the country, which would make online shopping more expensive for Malaysians. This is to ensure a fair and level playing field, as currently local retailers are imposed a sales tax while online purchases are not. As for the excise duty on pre-mixed beverages, the government wants a more detailed study before it is implemented, as some products should be excluded, such as infant formula. On the luxury goods tax, Datuk Johan said the model for its implementation, expected to be introduced in the second half of this year, will be developed independently and not according to the model from foreign countries. This is because it needs to take into account the type, price and suitability of the item, with the conditions in this country to be considered a luxury item, and will take into account a non-controversial goods such as gold. 4 individuals have been arrested in connection with alleged misappropriation involving a Sukuk agreement worth 596 million ringgit to implement a project related to the registration, hiring and recording of foreign workers' biometric data at a ministry. It is learned that among the suspects are a director, a chief financial officer and a shareholder of 3 companies that were directly involved in developing the system, while the occupation of the other suspect is unknown. The 4 male suspects are aged between 40 and 55 and were arrested at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission headquarters late on Tuesday afternoon. 3 of the suspects were remanded for 3 days until March 17th after Magistrate Irza Zulaika Rohanuddin allowed the MECC's application. The 4th suspect was released on bail. Sources said the Sukuk was managed by a local bank to finance the project, where all expenses and revenue derived from it must be credited to a special account. However, the special account was then changed to another account, which investigators believe was purposely created early last year. Graft investigators suspect that the account was to avoid paying all principals as well as profits to the Sukuk holders. It is learnt that the concession agreement between the government and the company was signed in July 2011 for a period of 12 years. The Sukuk was expected to reach its maturity in May this year. Authorities believe the opening of another account had resulted in losses amounting to millions of ringgit to the Sukuk holders. The Transport Ministry plans to develop a rail network connecting Malaysia and China, which will likely connect Kuala Lumpur or Johor Bahru to Kunming. Its Minister Anthony Loke said the Chinese government can play an important role in helping to facilitate the matter, including convincing other countries such as Laos and Thailand to partner in building a seamless rail network between Southeast Asia and China. According to Loke, the collaboration is not only for the transportation of goods, but also passenger train service between both countries. He said this at the launch of Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad's first Rail Sea service in collaboration with Costco Shipping Lines in Kuala Lumpur on Wednesday. The new partnership is set to connect major inland points to seaports throughout Malaysia's peninsular region, providing a stable, cheaper and more convenient trade route for import and export goods.
Bayangkan satu lokomotif boleh menarik 40 kontainer. Ini bermaksud kita mengurangkan 40 truk daripada jalan raya. Kita hanya bergantung kepada truk dan sudah tentu ini akan bukan sahaja menyebabkan kesesakan jalan raya, tetapi truk yang berlebihan di atas jalan raya juga menyebabkan kerosakan jalan raya dan memberikan ketidakselesaan kepada pengguna-pengguna jalan raya yang lain.
Loke added that the shorter transit time will also boost economic growth and investment opportunities for the country. The service is expected to begin this month and targets to move 400 wagons per month or 800 20-foot equivalent units per month. The Rail Sea service will initially start from Pulau Pinang Port, Port Klang and Padang Besar and will be expanded to Pasir Gudang and Ipoh in the future. The Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry, KPDN, plans to introduce loan facilities to finance the purchase of vehicles and insurance to help the B40 group under the Rahmah initiative. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub, said he would be holding several engagement sessions with banking institutions and insurance companies to fine-tune the initiative.
Datuk Seri Salahuddin said the ministry wanted to introduce a protection scheme for people who can only afford a second-hand car instead of a new car.
Contohnya macam kereta second hand, kereta second hand yang dibeli yang ada risiko tentang kerosakan besar seperti enjin dan juga gearbox. Mungkin insya-Allah ada insurans rahmah yang akan boleh kita tawarkan kepada rakyat. Itu konsepnya telah kita fikirkan, namun begitu tunggulah libat urus yang lebih serius dan kita akan umumkan pakej-pakejnya insya-Allah.
He said this after launching the Maidin Classic Nya Raya campaign in Subang Jaya, Selangor on Wednesday. Datuk Seri Salahuddin also said he had requested for an engagement session with the banking industry next week to discuss ideas to expand the Rahmah initiative, which may include offering special loan schemes for the B40 group. On another note, Datuk Seri Salahuddin said his ministry will announce a maximum price scheme soon for the upcoming Ramadan month and Hari Raya Adil Fitri. He said that the KPDN will work with the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry to ensure the supply of essential food items is sufficient and the price of goods are under control during the festive month.
There will be no lessons in the first week of the new academic year 2023-2024, which is slated to begin this March 19th and 20th. Instead, Education Ministry Director General Datuk Bakaruddin Ghazali said the first week will be filled with sessions that instill physical, emotional, spiritual, social and intellectual values.
Bagi kami di Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia, Surat Perkeliling Ikhtisas Bilangan 5 tahun 2023 itu memberi panduan supaya sekolah mengadakan program atau aktiviti yang sesuai supaya boleh menyediakan anak-anak kita dari segi sosio emosi dan mental. Sesi warm up untuk mereka meneruskan pembelajaran yang panjang selama 1 tahun, 190 hari jumlahnya.
He said schools that have few students and have implemented curriculum programs can still continue teaching and learning. Meanwhile, Datuk Pakarudin said any form of competition, celebrations or ceremonies with no major impact will be scrapped from the 2023 to 2024 academic year as one of the immediate initiatives to deal with the issue of teacher workload. The frequency of revision of the Malaysian Education Quality Standard, SKPM, will be reduced to once a year from this session as well, compared to at least once every 2 years before. Educators are also given autonomy in the planning and implementation of teaching and learning, as well as classroom assessment by using the standard curriculum and assessment document as a reference. To tackle the issue of heavy school bags, he said that in the new school year, school lockers will be provided using activity books provided by the MOE, while workbooks can only be used as reference or revision material outside of teaching and learning hours. The number of exercise books is also limited, with no more than 2 for each subject at one time and not exceeding 80 pages.
The takaful industry. What are the key drivers of growth? Also, what challenges are takaful operators expecting to face in 2023? I'm Anita Wu.
And I'm Norazman Zainal of Takaful Malaysia. Join us on Money Matters.
This Saturday, 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Semarakkan sokongan anda untuk Harimau Malaya. Siri Persahabatan Antarabangsa. Secara langsung hanya di TV9 dan Astro saluran 149.
The Prime Minister's office, PMO, takes a serious view of actions by any quarters in deliberately misusing the name or position of the office for certain purposes. It said that such actions were very irresponsible and could have a negative impact on its credibility and other government institutions. In a statement on Wednesday, the PMO said it will not hesitate to take further action, including from the legal aspect against any party found to have been involved in such matters. The statement came after Ayer Hitam MP Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong had spoken out against a threat levelled at him following his statement on the import of eggs from India in the Dewan Rakyat last month. He revealed that he had received a call from an individual who demanded for him to retract his statement on the issue.
Semalam jam 9.51 pagi, saya menerima panggilan daripada seorang insan bernama Dipak yang mendakwa dirinya mewakili JNE Advanced Tax Sdn Bhd yang mengata beliau telah berbincang dengan PMO untuk saya buat satu statement dan kita settle di luar mahkamah. Saya kata apa ni?
Previously, Datuk Sri Wee had brought 3 eggs to the August House, an egg from India, an Omega egg, and a local egg to show the differences in each egg sizes and pricing. He also urged the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry to focus on addressing the poor supply of domestic eggs instead of importing eggs from India and other countries to address domestic needs. The following week, he received a lawyer's letter from the importers of eggs from India for raising the issue. Meanwhile, Putrajaya is aiming to table a senior citizens bill in Parliament next year as a measure to protect the elderly as the country heads towards becoming an aging nation by 2030. The senior citizens bill is expected to provide, among others, provisions for legal action and punishments for adult children who refuse to be responsible for their parents. Deputy Women, Family and Community Development Minister Aiman Atira Sabu told the Dewan Rakyat that the ministry has conducted a study on the content, approach and scope of the law.
Rang Undang-Undang Warga Emas disasarkan untuk bacaan kali pertama di Dewan Rakyat insya-Allah pada tahun 2024 tahun hadapan. Sehubungan itu KPWKM akan meneliti kesesuaian undang-undang terhadap anak-anak yang tidak bertanggungjawab kepada ibu bapa dalam akta tersebut bagi memastikan kesedaran masyarakat umum tentang kepentingan menjaga warga emas akan terus meningkat insya-Allah.
She said this in reply to Hulu Langat MP Muhammad Sani Hamzan during question time. Muhammad Sani wanted to to know whether the government is planning to introduce a law that will compel salary deductions for adult children who send their parents to elderly homes or care centres. Elaborating, Imran Khan said the bill will also provide provisions to protect the rights and well-being of senior citizens, to empower the elderly community and to create a strong support group for senior citizens and their caretakers. She said the ministry at the same time had also implemented various initiatives to ensure the well-being of senior citizens in the country, such as by establishing Rumah Sri Kenangan and Rumah Ehsan nursing home for those in need through the Social Welfare Department. Coming up next, Malawi declares emergency after more than 200 killed in Cyclone Freddy. Stay with us. We're back with the foreign front. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol on Wednesday hailed growing cooperation with Japan on issues from North Korea to semiconductors, saying it was part of a historic new chapter for the two countries. Yoon said he was confident his new plan to compensate victims would work and that the Japanese government will join the country in opening a new chapter of Korea-Japan relations. His plan, unveiled this month, involves compensating Korean victims without Tokyo's direct involvement, which has enraged some victims who say this falls far short of their demand for a full apology and direct compensation from the Japanese companies involved. Yoon will travel to Tokyo on Thursday, his first visit since taking office last year, which follows his controversial move to try and settle a bitter historic dispute over Japanese World War II-era forced labor. With economic cooperation expected to be high on the agenda, during his trip, he added that stronger ties between the two countries would help global supply chains and build more stable economic relations with China. In other news, more than 200 people are now confirmed dead in Malawi after Tropical Storm Freddy ripped through southern Africa for the second time in a month. The country's government has declared a state of disaster in 10 southern districts that have been hardest hit by the storm. It was reported that almost 60,000 people have been affected, in which more than 20,000 people were displaced from their homes. Rescue workers, in the meantime, warned that more victims were to be expected as they scoured destroyed neighborhoods for survivors, even as hopes dwindled. Weather conditions were expected to improve as the storm dissipated over land after days of torrential rains, but flood levels remained high in some areas, hampering emergency efforts. Now, former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan faces a court-ordered arrest by police in the city of Lahore on Wednesday amid clashes between his supporters and law enforcement personnel. A court in Islamabad ordered Khan's arrest for not appearing before it, despite repeated summons, as Khan and his aides cite security concerns for the non-appearance. The arrest relates to a case pertaining to Khan selling state gifts given by foreign leaders while he was prime minister, a case he describes as politically motivated, as he broke no rules and sold the items legally. Khan says 76 cases have been registered against him since he was ousted by a parliamentary vote in April 2022, to which he has appeared in court for all other cases. If convicted, Khan faces being barred from holding public office, which would be a setback for the politician, with a national election scheduled for November. Still to come, Alcaraz, Auger Aliassime and Sinner advance to quarter-finals. Sports now. Despite being troubled by controversy and a seeming lack of confidence, world number 4 Li Zijia managed to clear his first hurdle at the All England in Birmingham on Wednesday. The 2021 champion showed glimpses of his attacking prowess to overpower Thailand's Sithikom Tamasin 21-12, 21-15 in 33 minutes. The victory saw Zijia extend his perfect record over the Thai world number 33 to 5-0. Zijia, 25, will face the winner of the first round match between Japan's Kenta Nishimoto and Canada's Brian Yang next for a place in the quarterfinals. On to tennis. Felix Auger-Aliassime held off 6 match points to beat America's Tommy Paul and move into the last 8 at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells on Tuesday. The Canadian edged the match 3-6, 6-3, 7-6 to set up a quarter-final meeting with the world number 2, Carlos Alcaraz. Auger-Aliassime played some of best tennis and has now reached the quarters at each of the past 6 ATP Masters 1000 events. Earlier, Indians Wells top seed Carlos Alcaraz made it to the quarterfinals after his ailing opponent Jack Draper retired with an abdominal muscle injury while trailing 6-2, 2-love on Tuesday. In another match, Italy's Yannick Sinner beat Swiss veteran Stan Wawrinka 6-1, 6-4 to reach the last 8 for the first time and set up a showdown with American 4th seed Taylor Fritz. In the women's category, top seed Iga Swiatek moved into the quarterfinals with a straight sets victory over Emma Raducanu. The 21-year-old took 1 hour and 24 minutes to defeat the 2021 U.S. Open champion 6-3, 6-1. The first 4 games were evenly matched, but the set turned in Swiatek's favor after Raducanu double-faulted when trailing 3-2 to give the world number 1 the decisive break. Defending champion Swiatek will now face Romania's Sorana Cirstea in the quarterfinals. Joining her was Aryna Sabalenka, who sealed a spot in the quarterfinal following a 3-set win over Barbara Krejcikova. Belarus's Sabalenka broke Krejcikova's serve in the third game of the deciding set before the Czech saved 5 breakpoints 4 games later to stay in contention. The Australian Open champion faced a breakpoint while serving for the match at 6-5, but Krejcikova failed to convert it and lost the next 2 points to go down 6-3, 2-6, 6-4. The second seed will face crowd favorite Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals. Five Indian nationals get death penalty for drug trafficking. This and more from the local front after this breather. Welcome back. The Seremban High Court ordered 5 Indian nationals to be hanged to death after finding them guilty of trafficking drugs 5 years ago. Judge Dato Azizul Azmi Adnan handed down the sentence on all the accused after finding that the defense failed to raise a reasonable doubt at the end of its case.
The 5 men, namely Radhakrishan Siam, Fazil Farooq, Sainabdin Siat, Abdul Kalam Sajiv and Salim Sabir, all plantation workers aged between 30 and 44, were jointly charged with trafficking over 1.5 kilograms of methamphetamine and over 2.7 kilograms of ketamine. The offence was committed at a house in Kawasan Takau Mukim Linggi, Port Dickson on August 3, 2018. The charge under the Dangerous Drugs Act provides a mandatory death sentence upon conviction. The judge also found the 5 men guilty of another charge under the Poisons Act for possessing 996.2 grams of a substance containing pseudoephedrine on the same day, time and place. For the offence, each of them was ordered by the court to be imprisoned for 4 years.
Nightline draws to a close this time around, but before we leave, let's take a look as Jeddah gets all decked out in Formula One buntings as the city prepares to host the second Grand Prix of the Formula One season this weekend. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.